All right, good evening, folks. A Merry Christmas to you. It's the fourth day of Christmas. And so we say, may God bless your Christmas days. Welcome. I am Citizen Jones. Today on the program, quite a lot to share with you. APC flags off campaign for 2019 presidential election in Uyo. Governor Yari backs call for emergency rule in Zamfara as NAF deploys fighter jets to state over killings. And later on, NECA urges federal government to act fast on new minimum wage, says economy can't withstand another strike in January. I'm hanging out with Tunde Abaton. A Merry Christmas to you, Tunde.
Same to you.
Yeah, I like the looks now.
In areas.
No, but this is your Christmas appearance. I love it. Imagine your neighbor, Kunu Adeni. Merry Christmas to you.
I'm tempted to do this.
Yeah, do that.
I'm tempted to do this, Joe.
It's okay.
If it keeps your Christmas intact.
It does. So thank you very much for having me.
All right, folks, so the team is ready. I hope you are. Okay, then, electioneering in our touch-and-go democracy is always torn between the politics of cynicism and that of hope. The APC presidential campaign trail flagged off in Uyo 1 or 2 hours ago, and that's Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital. The president himself will mount the soapbox. Party national chairman Comrade Adams Oshomole says flagging of the campaign in the south region of the country, more so in Uyo, is significant. As far as he is concerned, the Akwa Ibom people, in his words, quote, are anxious to receive the president and to hear the message, end quote. After a reported tense build-up, particularly in the use of the Uyo International Stadium, the show may now go on.
Well, Jones, I know very well that civilized attitude will eventually play out when...
Reasonableness.
It has to be, because if you're talking about the period of the year, nobody wants to get to the end of the year with any kind of crisis or blood on his or her hands.
Or baggage.
Nobody needs it. And if at all you don't want to do it because of politics, you do it for the sake of humanity, which is what we need. I'm happy that at least reason prevailed. Eventually, they're able to have access to the Godwin Akpabio Stadium. They're able to go there because it has the capacity to take the numbers that it does have. I've been there a number of times, and I think at the moment it stands to be the best place for such in these times.
Yeah, come on.
But looking away from all of the preliminaries has to be the significance of the president beginning from there. In the past 3-4 weeks, Akwa Ibom has become a state where it's been brickbats. 5 lawmakers defecting, Nephew Kluk wanting to declare their seats vacant.
The speaker?
The speaker of the State House of Assembly. As a matter of fact, some days ago, he said in Usim Mubutim or somewhere that certain things should have taken off. He doesn't know why. So he's also himself not enjoying the best of times because of certain political
intrigues.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
So it's important for the president, again, don't forget, that the Colossus in Akwa Ibom jumped ship. And anytime such figure moves from one place to the other, it has always been to create that impact that have been accepted on this other side, regardless of the reasons. And I'm coming home to tell you that I am the political godfather of this town, and people still definitely follow me when I speak. All of that may be on the backwaters, but what is important is that the president said, I'm going to flag it off, and I'll continue from where I stopped, which is to talk about security, the economy, and anti-corruption. How much Akwa Ibomites, the people of God, Akwa Ibom, there's a way
no.
Don't
mangle it easy. Ask me, please.
Oh, yes,
Akwa Ibom.
Okay, Akwa Ibom. Thank you very much. So at least the people of Akwa Ibom will be the ones to accept whatever message the president has for them. But I think it is very significant to begin that way.
Tunde, it is said if you don't do politics, politics will do you. Yes. Electioneering is here.
Yep. But I think, like he said, it is significant in the sense that it is natural for Senator Akpabio, because he has ruled that state for 8 years, and for all his consonant with most of the governors we have had in Nigeria, everybody wants to be a godfather. And after leaving office, everybody wants to show the size of his gun. the size of his eminence. So the man, by convincing the AP hierarchy and the presidency to flag off from the South-South, is a demonstration of two things: to show his relevance in the scheme of things in the South-South. I'm not going to localize it to Akwa Ibom. And to also show to the people of Nigeria, other people of Nigeria, that the people of the South-South are not in the minority, and that they want to be in the scheme of things in Nigeria, and that the mainstream politics in Nigeria, we are likely to have a new tune. They are likely to sing a new tune, because in 2015, or from 1959, people of the South-South has never voted. They have never been seen to be a little bit to the right. They have always been a little bit to the right. They have never been in the left. So now, I think maybe the statement is going to be made next year that we want to shift a little bit from the right to the center of the left, because we are not natural. APC is not left. It's neither here nor there. So if they are able to make that statement, well, it means that there are a new dynamics of politics is about to emerge in Nigeria. But look, I am not always particularly impressed about crowd. We are also impressed about the ability of the man to transform that crowd into voting. So on February 16 next year, we will know whether the people of the South-South...
16 or 19?
February 16, February 16 next year.
Okay.
Presidential. Then we will now know whether the dynamics of politics of the people of the South-South has changed. But now, today is a flag off with that particular intention.
But I also believe that it is going to have immense impact on the people of Akwa Ibom. I've lived there, I've worked there, I've been loved by the people of the town, and I still receive much love from that side of Nigeria. Akwa Ibom people can be lovely if they open their arms towards you. But when it comes to politics, I think it is some kind of inheritance for them, and they don't want anybody to tamper with it. I remember very well that when the brouhaha about the jumping of ship by the 5 lawmakers started, they said they would defend this even if it is with their blood. You said another thing that is significant. At times when you talk about moving to the right or the left, that term is common with advanced politics in the US and maybe the UK. Ruling party, opposition party is what many people understand here. So the people that are to the right oftentimes are the ones in power. Those who are to the left are appropriately the liberals. So let's bring it up. So we understand. Don't forget.
Here in Africa, you are a leftist.
A leftist when you are not in
when you are in
the opposition. So that is the picture being created. But I also would appreciate the fact that even if many persons are saying, well, the PDP happens to be the party that everybody supports, I think that there are divided opinions. Don't forget
that everybody.
That you know, people say that the party that is in the majority in Akwa Ibom is the PDP. But I also think that you have converts time and again in politics. You say if politics doesn't do you, if you don't do politics, politics will do you. So that simply means that certain persons perhaps feel the evangelization that has come to the south part of Nigeria may really have some new sermon that they are willing to listen to. Perhaps moving away from the politics of Old Testament to the newness and freshness of the New Testament in modern day Akwa Ibom politics. So we may really have new converts come to the new ministry that actually was led by the minister that went there today to do the flag off.
Tunde, you know, let's talk about sophistry and the soapbox. You know, in the first, second republics, at the soapbox, the Zigs of this world mesmerized, the Awolowers of this life, you know, and no less so the Sardanas of the Second Republic. You had the K.O. Mbadi ways, the same Zigs, the Awolowers, when comes to become. But such sophistry is not there.
Well, because
yet the soapbox is there.
It's there. The soapbox is there because
today, and you have a president who is not necessarily a talking man.
It's not. I think it's an abuse for us to say even he's a talking man. It is the man is introvertic. Too much introvertic to be a politician, to be a modern-day politician in Nigeria. And when you look at the whole political landscape, anyway, there's no difference between all the political parties. Because if there's any difference, between 6 and half a dozen. So all the parties, they are the same people. But I think what is missing in Nigerian politics is that the demagogues are no more there. What is there now, what is paramount is power. And people look for power because of money, because of where they stand. In the First and Second Republic, I think ideology plays much role, has much role to play in the attitude of the different cultures of Nigeria.
But so the viewer is not mesmerized here.
Yep.
All the parties, the leading and the not so strong ones, have manifestos. I hope you know that.
Yep, and they have manifestos, but the extent to which those manifestos have impacted, you cannot see that there's a very clear difference between Party A and Party B. The only difference you have today is the fact that whether Party A is able to implement any program at all. All of them, their programs are identical. It is the transmission of that particular program, implementation of projects that can, look at it now, a rail line that was abandoned in 1987 by the military. Buhari came now and resuscitated after 31 years. It does not necessarily mean that Buhari is a progressive.
But the point remains.
But the point remains that it is that the people of Delta or Warri, for the first time in their life, they will see a red line. So whatever name you call it, at least they can see deliverable.
If you don't do politics, politics will do you.
Yeah, so, Jones, I wanted to add, you said something very significant. And I think for political education, it is important to set a premise to understand the antecedents. For the First and Second Republic, there was a common interest of being in possession of what essentially is the heritage of the Nigerian people. And the only way to attain that was to work very hard and to demonstrate that you deserve to occupy a position. And that is why you have, as you said, the demagogues, and you have the soapbox, and you also have, importantly, the sophistry. The reason that is lacking is inadequate political nourishment has resulted in the malnutrition that is pervasive on Nigeria's political space.
Hold it. But you know, okay, because I was going to link up with Mohammed in Ogun State.
All right.
I hear we have lost the contact to you. Mohammed, call back. Yeah.
I was saying here that...
So, but isn't it something that kills the soul? If in the 21st century...
Yes, of course.
At the soapbox, there's no sophistry?
In fact, the irony of it is, in the history of humanity and mankind, especially development, we have not had so much information out as we have now, and we have not had so much lack of knowledge as we have now. So you have it running at parallel, and that is the irony of it. So much information, less knowledge, so much sophistication, too much crudity everywhere. And that is why the people...
Curious irony.
It's an irony. So for many persons, because there is no way quality doesn't remain eternally relevant. No matter how the world is destroyed, nobody wants a quack doctor to be the personal doctor of his family.
Today brings me to debates, election debates,
yes,
which is an integral part of electioneering. You win a debate, you lose an election. What are we talking about?
Because the dynamics have changed.
Oh, really?
The dynamics have changed. The mere fact that you win a debate, people who listen to a debate today are people, they are the book people. Most of them don't have access to voters' card. Talk less of having their voters' card with them. And when they have their voters' card with them, a larger percentage of them can't wait in the sun to vote
to exercise their franchise.
So at the end of the day, the dynamics that determine the outcome of an election is not the debate, but it is the people who are largely uninformed.
That's true.
Unfortunately, like he said, you see, sophistry cannot happen because people have no knowledge, and you cannot give what you don't have. Most of the politicians of today, they have not gone through any particular process. So the system produced the kind of politicians we have today.
All right, the first caller is here. We welcome Aneke. I hope I got that right. You are in Lagos here. Welcome. Merry Christmas to you.
Hello?
Yeah, how do you do? Lost the contact to you? Well, please call back. Yeah.
Jones, the reality is we can attain that particular height that we were because if you look at the crop of young persons that appear to be demonstrating interest, but it is rather sad that I've had the opportunity to speak with many of them. Jones, you really can't give what you don't have.
It's not possible.
For some of us that have the privilege of adding knowledge each time we come here, Jones, we pay the ultimate price before we come here because we know you cannot give what you don't have. So for many persons who have demonstrated enthusiasm, enthusiasm must cohabit the sacrifice of learning, of reading, of studying, asking questions, then also hearing the master speak. It doesn't come easy. So attaining to heights that remain more or less the legacy that we want to attain to, it takes a lot of sacrifice. So for many persons who time and again believe we can attain to that, I have been privileged to interview a number of aspirants to political position or candidates, as it were. Jones, less than half even understand where they are coming from. They are only interested, as he said, in the perks of the office as provided now, but understanding the depth and the length of what they intend to do is lacking.
Tunde, let me take you to America. I've forgotten the guy's name.
By foot, or are we flying?
In the mind.
Okay, good.
The man said at the soapbox, if my opponents stop telling the lies against me, telling unfounded things against me, I won't stop telling the truth about them. Brings me to what you say at the soapbox, on campaign ground.
That sounds like antithesis to me.
Yeah. Well, I think...
the quality of what comes out of politicians...
I believe since 1984...
At the soapbox,
Since 1984, we have been on a dialectical process. We have the thesis and the antithesis. But unfortunately, those who give back to that particular dialectical process, they don't have what it takes to separate the difference between the two.
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap because they don't have it, because when we talk to an average, except the one that has a well-grounded secondary education, when we talk to an average graduate student, they probably don't have anything to offer you.
You won't begrudge me here. My brother in Akwa Ibom is here. His name is Achibong. I greet you. Daidemfo.
You have lost it.
Achibong, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Good afternoon.
Let's go. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too. Can you hear me very well?
You are on. Let's go.
Okay, please. I want to direct my question to Mr. Kunu Adeni.
Yes, please.
Mr. Kunu Adeni, good afternoon. Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Merry Christmas to you, please.
This is Obot on the line.
Oh, Obot, how are you doing today?
It's not Obot.
Archibald.
You are Obot. Okay. Don't mangle your name. Go on.
All right.
All right. Now, my question, you were talking about a new level of evangelization that is coming into Akwa Ibom State.
Yeah.
I understand very well that PDP has been existing, and is the ruling party in Akwa Ibom State. But do you really think that with Senator Godswill Akpabio coming in now, with all his ability, that the people of Akwa Ibom State will be told that line of giving their support, understanding the fact that they have actually flagged their campaign?
Is it fair with the question?
Yes, it's very fair, because he has not abused anybody and he has presented it in the most civilized of manners.
Give him the answer.
The answer is that there is nothing permanent in politics. Some people thought they could do 60 years. They did 16. That is 44 years subtracted from what they intended to achieve. So Akwa Ibom State may also be another reference point for a short-lived projection. And also, let's say this, the reinvention of Akwa Ibom politics since Godwin Akpabio came there and spent 8 years was because he has a thing to do with the grassroots. The man that took over from him is a man from, those who really have the collar and tie and the rest of it all. He perhaps doesn't understand the nitty-gritty and the grass. It's the reality of Akwa Ibom State politics. So even if people support you because they believe you have the deep pocket, do they understand the nooks and crannies where Akpabio went to? Akpabio builds his foot soldiers as Udom Emmanuel built any foot soldier. That's the question. It's a fair question.
Kono, you sound like a paid man here.
Jones, please, I have not received a dime.
Listen, you can't go to court. I'm saying, but here at the Hangout,
yes,
we do a lot less of politicking.
We do more of the talking as it should be.
Okay. You have addressed his question. So okay. I'm saying the quality of what comes out from the soapbox is key here.
Yes.
What do you tell the elector?
Well, you see, like I said, principally we have to acknowledge one thing. There's that of good leadership, because there's no adequate political tutelage about what to do. When people, like he was saying,
voter education?
Not only voter education,
the
citizenry themselves,
okay.
they don't know what. And the people talking to them, they have depth of knowledge. You see, in the First Republic, Second Republic, you cannot just leave secondary school, leave university, be a PhD holder and say you want to be a counselor. You have to pay your price. You have to go through the nitty-gritty. It is when you go through all these things that at the end of the day, look at today now. If you have 50 million or 100 million, you can go to probably Akwa Ibom or Ogun State, and a party will adopt you. And when the party adopts you, you become the godfather of that party. But by the time you have discipline in the party, if you go and learn through the ropes, you are likely to have better leadership. But we cannot have better leadership with the kind of money politics we play today, because money determines everything who controls the party. And that is why I subscribe to the fact that not only APC, all the political parties in Nigeria, if you want the best out of any government, we have to have party discipline. Party has to remain supreme. The moment money bag becomes supreme, you cannot have the best of people coming out. And that soap box will be as nil, as empty as anything, because there's nothing to give. All those people coming to the soap box, they don't have anything. They are not coming from any particular experience. They are only coming because they have the privilege of money bag to buy the structures of the party and become the candidate. And
let's begin to take it home.
Most definitely, Jones. I think very strongly that there should be a political institution, not the study of political science at the university, where people are made to come to terms with the peculiarities of Nigerian politics, understanding the downside of it, and also taking them through the ranks to understand that if you must become a politician, you must essentially not have the certificate, but have the tutelage by people who know their onions as far as our politics are concerned. And I want to use this opportunity to recommend that it's what, even if we have to actually raise a citizens' bill, for government to set up an institution of proper political tutelage, PPT, that will help revamp, because as we speak, all of the problems we've had has deconscientized people in this country. And they've not had the privilege of being reconscientized into the right political acculturation. It's a problem now.
Today, he has simply rehashed what a former governor of Abia said. You know him. He said, we need a chartered institute of politicians.
Well, that is not what I mean. He's perhaps is a corrupted version of what I'm voted.
No. It just
came to mind.
It just crossed my mind.
See, leadership can only be learned on the street. You cannot learn leadership in the four walls of a classroom. I think people have to be made to go through a particular, like I said, a particular process. That process will produce the best in you. You cannot learn it in a particular school. But because people wake up one day, they have money that has been thrown to them by the system, and they believe they are the masters of all.
That's it.
They have nothing to
Steve
offer.
is here. Steve is in Sokoto State. Steve, good evening. Welcome.
Thank you. I just want a question or explanation.
Well, listen.
I just want a question or explanation.
Yep.
You are to give us.
I want to ask a question or explanation.
Yeah, go on.
Please, can you tell us the circumstances Akwa Ibom defected to APC?
Steve, here at this hangout, we are journalists. There's no politician here.
We have our focus here, and we have analyzed it.
The news is simply that Akwa Ibom jumped ship, and he said he did so in order that he might take Akwa Ibom to the mainstream. So we leave it there.
His words.
All right, so still to come, Governor Yari backs call for emergency rule in Zamfara State. Please stay, don't go away. Okay then, we live in nightmarish times. Millions fail to understand this. The Zamfara agonizing orgy of killings defies definition, considering that the Northeast became a theater of the absurd since the Boko Haram menace broke out in 2002. Embattled Governor Abdulaziz Yari, obviously weighed down by the unrestrained carnage in his domain on Thursday, backed a call on President Muhammadu Buhari to declare a state of emergency in Zamfara. Meanwhile, Chief of Air Staff Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar has announced the deployment of fighter aircraft to the trouble spot in the state. The reported influx of some foreign fighters from Mali through our penetrable border points underscores the intensity of the problem at hand.
Jones,
Tunde.
I tell you, we're not sitting on the keg of gunpowder, but we're sitting on sophisticated nuclear weapons. And if we don't understand the enormity of the problem that is just living with us, we may not do what we have to do. In the first place, I am not a military officer, but I don't know the extent to which they could achieve results with deploying military fighter jets. I don't know. You're talking about bandits. Now, let me give you a picture. it has come to a point where certain people in Zamfara go to meet the bandits to actually be the arbiters in their issues. They believe they will get justice done by people who are supposed to be criminals.
Are you listening to you?
I said so because it's in the news. I didn't manufacture that story.
No.
Yes, I'm listening to me.
Okay.
So what I'm saying in essence is, if it gets to a point in a state where the citizens of that state go to meet those who are criminals in every sense of the word to help them mediate in issues that you could have state institutions do justice to, then it's another state that needs a new vocabulary to describe. That's one part. Let me do a retrospect to when the Ekiti elections held. At that point, Zamfara State was at the height of the killings, at the height of the problems. The police officers they deployed to oversee the Ekiti elections were like 100 times or 200 times more than the police officers or the security operatives that they deployed at the same time to Zamfara. It tells you the scale of preference, and that is the most terrible economic analysis that I have ever imagined. Now, you're talking about certain problems that should have been nipped in the bud, but it was left to fester. And we have cancer in stages. There's a level cancer gets to, it needs supernatural intervention or you return to your creator. And that is the way things have become in Zamfara State. Don't also forget, 2 months plus ago, Abdulaziz Yari said he has relinquished his position as the chief security officer of the state. It tells you that it's a problem. And also, let's look at the political situation surrounding the man. The man is at loggerheads with the party chairperson. So obviously that, in part, may be part of the theories we may have to factor in why the man is not getting the necessary support from the federal government. These are realistic issues on ground.
When you say necessary support from the central government,
because the man has been crying. I'm saying that you cannot send 2,000 police officers to Zamfara State at the height of the killings, and you are sending in excess of 15,000 to oversee the Ekiti election, which is more important.
I'd rather you remained the broadcaster journalist.
It's the logic. I'm saying here that when people
you confessed before this time that you were not a security person.
I talked about the aircraft deployed. I'm not talking about the security operation in person.
But you just mentioned it.
Yes.
Tunde, he started well when he said, politicians, especially in this country, if you gave them 2 plates, one plate, your rights, the other plate, interest. The politician in Nigeria will kill for the interest
first,
and leave the rights, and so on. So here's a governor, Abdulaziz Yari, started having the problem with his previous governor, Yerima, Senator, who said he would like to know who and who was contesting. On the other hand, there's INEC axe dangling on his head and so on. So he's a totally bewildered man.
Well, I think...
So at this point, what do you think is playing out?
I think what the real problem we have is that of fundamentals. Fundamentals of what is the priority of any government at any particular point.
As the chief security
officer of that particular state, there's no way we will not refer to what he has said. When election is coming, every other thing in Nigeria stops. 6 months or 9 months to election in Nigeria, governance in almost all parts of Nigeria stops. Let us look at the instance of Lagos State. You can see what is happening in the next 9 months.
The debts are piling, but
governance stops. So to that particular...
The debts are piling up
now.
As if we offended somebody.
Hold on, let's deal with Zamfara first.
If governance has stopped here now, okay, we all know the extent of the carnage that is going on in Zamfara State. I think if we have statesmen as leaders, irrespective of whatever party is in power, irrespective of who is the godfather in that particular state, we should be able to summon enough courage and deploy enough forces. Because no matter who is the governor of that particular state, it remains that banditry is now the order of the day. It has surpassed the issue of who is in government.
We're dealing with borders that are porous, perennially. We have not done anything about them. And the Governor Yari is telling you people from Mali, and has told you many of them are Tuaregs. Obviously, he must know them.
Well, we know that, but I think
he must know them.
I think there's no
to
way
identify them.
I think there's no way we can separate.
No. Come on, Kuno.
When you look at the crisis in the northeastern part of the country, there's no way we can separate that crisis with our attitude towards our neighbors. The other time we were talking here about all those countries surrounding us in the northeast, they are francophone countries. They are francophone countries that has compounded our problem. Our ability to actually harness that particular thing, intelligence forces to nip that things in the bud, because we are so friendly, we are so open, because of our commitment to this ECOWAS treaty, we cannot apply the rules of the game. And what is the rules of the game? That people cannot just come into Nigeria. And in a situation whereby you have two warlords fighting for the soul of a state, you mentioned the former governor that has the audacity to introduce Sharia in a country that's a secular state. It's not even a religious state. And the other president said the thing would disappear. When you look at the introduction of Sharia in 1999, I can tell you the fundamental causes of the problem today is the amount of forces that was used to implement that particular thing. And most of them, they came from neighboring states. And it has now become a monster to stop it.
Yeah. Kuno, Boko Haram started like child's play in 2002. Yes. Today is a Frankenstein.
Monster.
He's talking about French neighbors and so on, namely Cameroon, Chad, Niger, in that, and if you like, Benin Republic. I don't know how much of that has to do with what's on the floor.
Well, I think
politicians, I'm saying 2002. Boko Haram started, and a former president said, in my cabinet, did he say government? We have Boko Haram elements. At that point, the president was speaking from a position of authority.
Jones, I will bring it home. Yeah. Former President Goodluck Jonathan said it in 2012 when he went to South Korea. That's when he made that statement. So I've called the name, I've given the location, and I've given you the year. The point remains that when you, as I said earlier, I'll repeat, when you allow certain things to fester, it becomes uncontrollable. Nigeria is not as big as Niger Republic. Nigeria is in excess of 900 square kilometers. Niger Republic is over 1 million square kilometers. So if you're talking about size, leave that aside.
Land mass.
Land mass. So let us not look at land mass as part of our problems. Now, Nigeria has immigration officers in all the 36 states of the Federation, as well as the Federal Capital Territory. Between 1999 and now, approximately 20 years, if, for instance, we said the previous years were wasted, what have we done to reinvent our immigration office? The officers and all the necessary. I'm saying here, Jones, that at times we don't have certain excuses. The money we have made in the past 20 years, Nigeria hasn't made such money if you check the previous years. Why have we not deployed it? And also, we've made this money. In excess of 7 trillion has been stolen. So, Jones, let us get it right. It is because of that demon called interest. It is a hydra-headed monster that immediately you invite it into your territory, it makes you the tenant and it becomes the landlord.
So, by Governor Abdulaziz Iyari supporting a state of emergency in Zamfara, is he playing ball?
Two things. He's not playing ball.
Okay.
It's very obvious now that he cannot handle the situation. Very obvious. And it is better for him, and don't also forget that he has rounded off his tenure. Practically, he has rounded off. And he believes strongly that if this is what I'll do to just remove my hand from because the more he tries to tell you, I'm the governor, we don't want state of emergency, then the killings continue unabated and he continues to take the swipe. So it is best for him to say, I am incapable of handling this situation any longer. The federal government has the might, has the weapon, has all it takes, the resources. Let the federal government help. And don't forget that about 3 weeks ago, he said that he has actually brought under his umbrella vigilantes, let me use that word, to pay them certain stipend, maybe less than 10,000 or 5,000 every month. But he realizes that that cannot even solve the problem. I don't know if you saw that story.
I think we have to...
Sorry, let me quickly take Michael. Okay. Michael is in Oshun. Michael, good evening. Welcome.
Good evening, journalist Hangout.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Michael from the city of Ile-Ife, Osun State.
Okay, then.
Yeah, my contribution is... Yeah, good evening. Yeah, the man in the green cap, I think, is making a vital point, and he should be listened to. The political problem between the APC and the governor is a contributor to what is happening. Are you with me?
Yeah, we're listening, sir.
Is that it's like he has been left to his own fate. And I think he is being punished because, going by what INEC said, APC might not be able to field candidates. And I think this is a punishment for the governor for that. I think he should listen to what is happening. The killing is too much, and Nigerians can no longer entertain such. We are begging. The killing is much. These are our brothers and our sisters and our mothers and our children. Those of us in the South are crying.
Yeah, Michael, Brother Michael, the killings didn't start last year, okay? The killings started just this year. I mean, the Zamfara own. We should have taken a cue from the northwest, I mean, the northeast, where the Boko Haram is running riot. Okay, are you done?
Jones, I
well, I'm just begging the president, he should do something. He should throw the politics aspect away. The governor has said it. He said he's fed up, and because nobody is coming to his aid. That's it. That's why.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm done.
Many thanks.
I wanted to rub this in, that if you're talking about killing, there's no way you talk about Zamfara, not talk about Northeast. The report of Amnesty International that really has got the Nigerian army reacting very vehemently tells us that between 2016 and 2018, you've had in excess of 3,400 deaths, about 3,600 deaths. About 54% of that happened here in 2018 alone. Over half of the killings. It tells you that there's something that we perhaps are not getting, especially in the 2018 calendar year, that needs to be revisited. Don't forget that it's also in this year that they told us, I think last year, they talked about 12 Tucano jets to be delivered 2012. They talked about $1 billion US. And I know very well that it was in the news last month that the Chief of Officer Burutai talked about the fact that the army has not received its own security. He said it very clearly. It's in the news. So if the Supreme...
Sorry, Kuno, sorry, just a minute. You ordered Tucano jets today. It is not delivered.
It is not delivered
a la carte.
I know.
It is not.
Delivered on the 2020.
So please, we moderate what our thinking is, you know.
It is.
So...
Well, I think the real problem is that there's one factor that we have not looked at, except beside the fact of, for selfish political reasons, Yari may be ready to part.
I want Kunu to factor that in. I talked about interest and rights.
But the point remains that...
You see, a governor is in distress from his former boss, yes. on the one hand, from INEC on the other, and he is suggesting that the caller, I beg your pardon, suggested the man is being punished for what?
Jones.
I think to be unfair.
Jones, the point is, everybody seems to be pointing at this governor. You also need to understand the root of this problem. If a party constitution tells you that there are 3 ways to choose a candidate, and you come to a forum to tell people that you are going to do it just one way, you have first of all violated your constitution. That is to say that the APC chairperson in the first place erred in the side of the law to have actually taken it away. Now, you cannot decide against what your constitution says, except you amend it first.
So, hold on. You have talked about Zamfara. Can you go quickly to Ogun State? What played out in Ogun?
Well, Ogun State, we know that is the same demon called interest.
To Kuno, what played out in Imo State?
Interest.
Provoked by who?
Provoked by
by politicians.
By politicians.
Please don't. You know, here at the Hangout, we don't. I'm not a politician.
But we put it bare. We make it bare. That's why I refer to it.
But you don't make up minds for your viewer. You allow him make up his mind.
I only refer to the
Put
constitution.
everything on the table. We have said if there's going to be peace in this country, the politicians will bring it about. If there's going to be something otherwise, it's also the politician. If the INEC has told you close to 1 million PVCs remain uncollected.
65,000 PVCs.
And that politicians are
coming to buy
badgering them to bargain.
Yes, in your state.
You know, what does that tell you? It is the politician. So go back to Zamfara before we rest this matter.
Yes,
the governor knows he's running, his term will end.
Round off.
is it proper for a governor to insist on a particular fellow that takes over from him?
No, not at all. That's not democratic.
Which is supreme? The party or the strong man?
The party is supreme, but the party will be seen as not doing the right thing if the process is not transparent.
I think what we have to accept is that, like I said the other time, the issue of strong men coming into rule over the states.
Who have not gone through the trenches.
Not only having gone through the trenches, believing that they owe the people, believing that they owe the party, until all particular strong men in this country subserve themselves to the interests of the party.
Yeah.
We will not have peace
because
in this
the party,
and that is why
the party is supreme.
And it should be supreme in all circumstances. For peace to reign and for the party to be able to produce good people that will lead them.
Tunde, help me tell Kunu, who is the new school here. I'm old school.
You are mid-school.
Second Republic. I grew up to remember A.M.A. Akinloye, hold on, as the big guy in the MPN of York, and Awolowo, big man, UPN, Zik, NPP, GNPP, Waziri Ibrahim,
and we're able to call them to order.
That's it. All right, folks, we must pass over now. The Nigerian Employers Consultative Assembly, what you call NECA, has entreated the federal government to act fast on the transmission of the new minimum wage bill to the National Assembly so as to forestall a planned January 2019 strike by organized labor. NECA Director General Timothy Olawale touched on the negative implication of the touted strike owing to an economy reeling under the recent recession. The situation at hand calls for a Nigerian solution to the problem, and the strike at this point is not just revolting, it's vulgar.
Jones, the statistics reeled out less than 2 weeks ago tells us that the number of those, the percentage of those unemployed in the country has risen to 23.1%. That's the current figure. The reality is people get laid off for a number of reasons. The bottom line is not good again by the organizations. They have to let them go. The fact is that maybe you are surplus, you have to be let go of. The reality is the group that is speaking is the representative of the private sector.
National Employers Consultative.
Yes, they are the ones representing the private sector, and they know that if government is comatose and activities with government is comatose, Jones, it will be completely impossible for them to operate because government essentially has its policies in place that obviously the unions that serve the interests of those under its employ are able to move forward with it. So in the absence of that, NECA is finished.
You know, no, I didn't mean to interject, but let me lay this on you.
Good.
Before this current government came in, Aswani, one of the over 400 textile mills in the country, closed down. So give an average 5,000 workers to each textile mill. Yeah. 500 times 400, 5,000 rather, times, because you are not a producing country.
But the reality
you are not a producing country.
Just no matter how you talk about producing.
See, so if sometimes statistics should not be substitutes for judgments, because look at the, if you are not producing, you don't have electricity, you are not producing, you can't earn foreign exchange.
Jones, let us look at the factors of production itself. Let's go to rudimentary economy.
Go on. Take me to the classroom.
Labor, capital, entrepreneur.
Yes.
Now, if you look at land,
what of power? Power.
No, power is factored into capital and
go on, and
I'm saying that if you look at the 4 pivots of that angle of production, Jones, we have the land, we have the labor. But how do you muster capital in the absence of infrastructure? How do you encourage entrepreneurship in the absence of power that you talked about? In every sustainable economy, government builds infrastructure, Jones. These are the essentials of rudimentary economics. If you cannot build infrastructure and ensure that there is capital inflow to enhance people who...
Do you know power is an essential infrastructure in all of this?
Yes, it's part of it. It's part of it.
What happened before now?
Jones,
what happened before
government has always been in continuum. And in the absence of consolidating on the thing that make... Okay, let's go to the issue now. This particular wage problem that labor has been at fisticuffs over was effective. This one rounds off according to what government opened its eyes to sign in 2015. New wage would have come in 2016, sir. This is 2018. Would you say Labour has been very unreasonable by being patient in excess of 2 years? Just I'm saying that it's high time we make government take full responsibility for its actions and its inaction.
Tunde, the National Assembly is primary job is to make laws, apart from oversight functions and so on. Who makes the laws? Who fixes national minimum wage? The governors are telling you they cannot pay a living wage. If they must pay, they will have to shed weight. What are we talking about?
Well,
so who is saying what here?
Well, I think basically the Nigerian problem is that we are not looking at the realities. Well, each of the state governments in this country today, they claim to spend probably 70% of the money they earn from the federal government, of the handout they get from the federal government on the civil servants. At the end of the day, how much are they spending on capital infrastructure? Let us assume that they are spending that. How much are they spending on other services like the House of Assembly that are probably not producing anything? I think what we have to do in this country is that the president did make a promise, and I'm surprised that up to today the president is yet to transmit a law, a bill to the National Assembly to effect the 30,000 naira minimum wage, and that is the crux of the matter. Now we have a comatose National Assembly that's not even ready. The other time they are joined probably next year. They are not even ready to entertain any bill now.
For every National Assembly member, the election is key.
It's key now. And now look at something that happened last week, and it has been a running battle in the last 3 months. Legislative aides have been in a running battle with their bosses over unpaid allowances and salaries.
2008.
8 years. But their own were paid. So when you look at the real problem is really with our political class. The executive have their own problem, and the National Assembly too, that is even oppressing its own immediate staff. You can imagine National Assembly local, and the backlog is about 5.something billion now of allowances for their aides. Wages. Those who are supposed to aid them
and they are duly paid these monies.
And they are paid this money. The National Assembly has paid this money to them, and they cornered it. So the question now is that the ball should be in the court of the executive led by the president and the National Assembly. Let the president send the bill effecting 30,000 naira to the National Assembly, and let the state governors now go back to the National Assembly and explain to the National Assembly how and why they cannot pay this money.
I mentioned here, as I've always done, that if you allow something fester, you're in trouble. The president approved new salary structure for the police early this month.
Yes.
Now, I told people when they were dancing and singing, approval doesn't mean it's in effect.
It's in effect, or that the money
in the
is
first
there.
place, he has verbally approved. It will be subjected to scrutiny. It is subject to funds availability, and of course, certain other internal issues or procedures. Don't forget, he said something.
Are you saying the 2019 budget proposal has not captured that?
Jones, I have my doubts. I have my doubts if it has not captured the Nigerian workers. And the president perhaps should have sent a bill to that effect to demonstrate that is indeed very commitment. Jones, let me say
let the National Assembly now fail.
Many people have always said they deride labor because labor goes on strike. I think we need to inform people that government has waited for over 2 years since the time it should have effected it and not done anything before labor decides we can't take this any longer. I think governance is about utter responsibility. When you sign a document, and it seems to have become our national attitude that we
don't honor the document. Look at the ASU crisis.
Up to now, government signed. I remember when they started very early in the year, Malam Adamu said when they first went on strike this year, that the week after, the money will be paid. Do you know the funny part? This is December. Nothing has been done. And in fact, Professor, the ASU president has said, as he speaks, that it appears as if government is buying time by meeting that he's not going to meet with them again. So that simply means the fact that we're not the first 500 universities that should be, or maybe first 200 in the world, that's one problem on the hands to solve. Our quality of education is down. Just let me give you another shocker. These foreign exams they normally do, test of English. I checked the countries in Africa. Sierra Leone doesn't need it to get into a UK university. Nigeria, that has more educated people, would have to be subjected to the ridicule of doing a test in English language. Nigeria, that produced the first Nobel laureate, is a country that is subjected to foreign test language for you to go to university. Sierra Leone wouldn't do that. Many countries...
At this point, you might have to go to court alone.
No.
Let's bring this thing home. and say organized labor is spoiling for a strike, and NECA is saying it will be injurious to the economy. And we can only hope that the central government, the National Assembly, the state governors who are partners in this particular subject will go back and sleep on it.
Jones, there's no going back to do anything.
No. Come on. You talked about governance or government being a continuum.
Yes.
So it's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
So we must take it home at this point. Yeah. But before we close, let's tell you, Kunu and Tunde, yesterday, Thursday, today's 28th?
Today's 28th, yes.
Thursday, 27th, the TVC station won the TV Station of the Year, courtesy of Nigerian
National Merit Award,
National Media Merit Award, NMMA. So I'm saying a team is as good as the captain, or as bad, but in this case, as good as the captain. We thank TVC, thank NMMA. We didn't buy it. So it's kudos to all of you.
Well, thank you.
This is one of the programs
I'm very hopeful for the champagne afterwards.
Oh, the champagne?
Yes. Cold
okay.
I think the award is long overdue.
Yeah.
I think it's long overdue.
Yes. And I'm happy that at least...
Thank God that at least this thing is happening.
There's something different it has done.
So, a Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas, James. Thank you very much.
Today,
Merry Christmas.
May your Christmas days be bright.
Amen.
And we talk to our backroom boys upstairs and the cameramen at the studio here. May God bless your Christmas. We're out of here, but not before reminding you, see the program on other platforms we are displaying on your screen and on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. The feedback channel is the same. I am Citizen Jones Hussein. Bye-bye for now, and take care.
There are no clear statistics to indicate the population of Nigerians living with disabilities in Oyo State. A large chunk of these people say they face stigmatization and neglect from the society.
Problem in the areas of working system, schooling, and other things like that. And since government neglected all these areas, so we are begging and we are saying that we are part of the government. We are able to do some certain things that the government wants us to do. So we are trying to please, by the grace of to help us one way or the other to let us be part of the government indeed by helping us in areas where we are weak.
This year's World Disability Day is yet another opportunity to draw the attention of government to the plight of persons with special needs. The theme for the 2018 celebration seeks to beam its searchlight on the urgent need to empower more PWDs and drastically overcome some of their daily challenges and ensure they live a normal life.
Personally, I've not been experiencing discrimination by non-disabled people because maybe because of my I have self-esteem, high self-esteem, and that has been helping me. And once you are educated, people want to relate with you based on the knowledge, the wisdom, and the intelligence you have. So they don't really pay attention at this age. They don't really pay attention with what happened to you, because it's not what happened to you that really matters. It's what you do and what happened to you.
We need a job. So because most of our people, after they graduate from their school, no job, no work. So we want a surplus job so that our people can benefit. Then most of our people on the streets, we want the government to empower them.
Other stakeholders at this year's celebration urge the government to take action. They feel it's time for the rights of people with special needs to be backed by law.
Before the end of this year, precisely between now and next week, Mr. President is going to sign disability law. And I'm using this opportunity through the media to tell whoever hears this story that they should tell Mr. President to sign the bill. The bill is our right. Inside that bill, we have access to education. We have access to medical. Inside the bill, we have employment quota. You will be surprised that if there are a lot of people with disability who are unemployed, and the state government employed a lot of them, especially in the state, all the local government in the state has person with disability working with them. All the ministries in the secretariat has people with disability. That is to the credit of the government of the state.
With the year gradually grinding to a halt, with an election year in the offing, stakeholders can only hope that government will take quick steps by placing the plight and welfare of persons with special needs on the front burner. Olutai of Famous Call, TVC News, Oyo State.
The mission obviously is clear, laying siege to the house here in Maitama, and as you've mentioned earlier in your introduction, that the Inspector General of Police says if he has a case or no case to answer, he comes out and defends himself. We have security operatives here. And the question is, on whose instruction are they acting? Basically, they must be acting on someone's instruction to lay siege at these premises. I would also like to remind you that the senator in question has several court cases, criminal cases where he's standing trial. Perhaps that's why the Inspector General of Police is saying if he has a case to answer, he come out clean on it. That's giving an impression that he should come out and face the siege here. That's if it's inside the house. And that gives us the impression here that the police have it on good authority that the person they're looking for is inside the house and they are waiting for the person. We put that question to his brother, Moses Melaye, if he knows the whereabouts of his brother. If the brother is inside the house or outside the house, he could not answer yes or no. What he has said is that he has not been allowed into the house, so he doesn't know the whereabouts of his brother.
Temidire is a community in Umubi-Jesha, in Atakumasha East local government area of Osun State. Founded over 2 centuries ago by Owa Jimoko I, Oba Frederick Astrop, the community has never enjoyed electricity for once. Findings revealed that residents trek kilometers to grind pepper. Succor came their way, courtesy of Oba Astrop and a philanthropist, Abiodun Ajifobaje, when they embarked on this 10 million naira project.
Since inception, they don't have light. There's no electricity in this town. But to God be the glory, with the support of one of our illustrious sons, Engineer Abiodun Ajifobaje, and with the support of the Limobi family, we were able to have this electricity completed. And today we are commissioning for the people of Temidire to have light.
Government cannot do everything. So if we have somebody that has a vision and call on his people, his friends to come and assist him, well, the KBS is my friend, and call on also that this is what his people need. And of course, we rally around and then made it possible for him.
Members of the community were advised to guard the installation against vandalism. Leaders of the community are appreciative of the gesture.
It's a progressive thing to have brought electricity to this place. The people here have been in darkness all over a long time. Fortunately for us, this is happening in our own time. This is our own ancestral place.
Since I was born, there is no light. No light. I did not see light here at all since I was born. But by the time that our new Lumobi, our KBSC, was there, he now give us light.
They believe the development would improve the economic activities of the area.
My expectation is that they should use it to further their knowledge, their advancement, and the improvement of this community. For example, if there is anything to be installed in this community, they will ask you, do you have light, do you have water, do you have power? Now there is no restrictions. Anybody cannot come and help them. Since there is light, there is power, they can bring any industry here and conveniences to this community.
Now, in this community, I expect things to start happening. You get it? Most of the things, most of the things they go to do in the other towns, they will now start doing it in their community. And probably in the next 1 year, you see, we need to now upgrade this to a bigger transformer.
Rafiu Hamid, TVC News, Temidire, Osun State.